So I'm going to show you how to make a 4-inch cylinder, which is your first throwing assignment, okay? When you start to do this, don't be surprised if you need to try it again and again, because something that takes less than 5 minutes, throwing a 4-inch cylinder takes less than 5 minutes, but for somebody that hasn't done it, it could take a week and a half worth of classes, and that's completely acceptable. When I started to learn how to throw, because in the 8th grade I started hand building, so it wasn't until my freshman year of college as a ceramics major that I learned how to throw, and it took me the entire first semester. With this, it's a little different because there's only 12 of you throwing at a time. So once I am done getting all of the B group all set tomorrow, I'll come over and give you guys tips, like during, not tomorrow, Wednesday, or whenever your block day is, right? And then you will be practicing each day until you've had about 7 class periods to practice. Now the B group will have the same amount of time to practice. So if we have a snow day or something like that, I'll like readjust. Does that make sense? So you don't lose a day. However, if you're absent from like more than one day, chances are you won't quite get enough practice and you might have to come outside of class, which you can come anytime other than when the wheels are full with another class throwing. Okay, so from the bag over here, I got a newly pugged piece of clay and I'm ready to go. Slap it on the middle of my wheel like this. There's a pedal to my right. It's like a car pedal, right? So when I press it, the wheel goes around, okay? Take a minute when you look at your wheel and think about if it's going in the right direction. How many people are lefties? Okay, if you're a lefty, you want the right side of the wheel going towards you. If you're a righty, you want the right side of the wheel going away from you, okay? So how do I change that? So if I'm a lefty, I want to stop the wheel and move. There's a little peg on the side of the wheel, and I change it so the right side is going towards me, and then I throw on this opposite side. And I do know how to throw on both sides, so I can work with you one-on-one to help you, since my demonstrations are all going to be on the right side. Does that make sense? Okay. So here we go. The right side is going away from me. I know I'm going in the right direction. Now, who's brave enough while the video is going to read steps for me? The steps are on the wall. Who can do it? Okay, I'll read them for myself, or I'll kind of paraphrase them, okay? So, first thing you're gonna do is really kind of secure your clay to the wheel head. If you don't kind of pound it a little bit like that, then what can happen is it can go flying off your wheel and like, yeah, it won't stay on and you won't know why it's not staying on. The next step is you're gonna take your finger, this is called finger seal. All the steps are gonna be, and I have other ones to hang up, but they're gonna be around the room. So whatever sign is closest to you, like look for the sign, and then that will guide you through the steps of wheel throwing, okay? So we finger seal, then we're ready to center this ball of clay. So this is the speed about that you want to go. I hope you can see my wheel head. So readjust yourself or come up closer if you can't see this wheel head. Okay, so about this speed, and I am going to push straight up. You'll notice that my forearms are on the splash pan. So that's really important because that's stabilizing myself. So otherwise I don't have a lot of, I'm new at this and I don't have a lot of control, and I can't necessarily like stabilize my hands without putting them on this, the splash pan. The other thing is, you'll notice if you look on YouTube, most videos, people are hunched over a wheel over to the side like this, okay? If you do that for 20 years, you're gonna have back problems. It's not great. So I decided quite a few years ago to, through the district, purchase legs for these wheels so we're standing. If you have a day that you come in and you're exhausted, you can pull a tall stool over and you're still gonna be, you're just like kind of resting with it, but you're still gonna be in a vertical position as opposed to hunching over a wheel, if that makes sense. So it's just ergonomically way better for you. So that's why we're at standing wheels. So this is called centering. I'm squeezing the clay, and notice how I'm not moving my hands a lot at all. And notice how the top of the clay is all mushy and not centered, or it's kind of doing, every part of it is doing something different. Then I'm gonna push it straight down with my thumbs. Just like that until I can't go any further, okay? There we go. Now it's centered, okay? Now I'm gonna push this down into a centered, like mushroom cap kind of shape, okay? And the way I do that, it's called karate chop. I came up with names for all the hand gestures that I want you to do, that I want you to do, as a way to communicate what your hands should look like. So for karate chop, your hands should be attached to each other and you're using this part. Think about if you were to chop something, you would use this part of your hand, right? You wouldn't use like this part of your hand, you'd use this part of your hand. So you're gonna have this part of your hand on the center of that pile of clay, and you're gonna kind of guide it with your non-dominant hand. So my dominant hand is pushing straight down into a mushroom cap. So I'm rolling my hand towards myself. So I have a centered mushroom cap that looks just like this. You'll also notice that the only clay I'm using is a sponge. Throughout this whole process, you really want your hands to be nice and clean, wet and clean. If your hands are really muddy, then the mud will make this pile of clay all muddy, and it'll just like kind of get everywhere and you'll make a big mess because of the friction that the clay will make with the clay. But if your hands are clean, you won't have that problem and your hands will just slide and you can really make anything. Next, and I want you to try this with me, is lobster claw. So take your dominant hand and hold it like this, like you're gonna shake someone's hand. Okay, here's your claw. So you're gonna take your claw, bend it, and then go straight down. Perfect. Good, straight down. Okay, now watch what I do. Lobster claw, straight down. Now I'm gonna open it up. So down, and I'm closing my claw to open up that form. So try it with your dominant hand. Your thumb is bent down and over. Okay. And watch what happens. I close the claw and see how I open up the pot, right? So I'm not moving, my wrist is straight. I'm not moving my hand at all, really. I'm just moving my thumb and opening up the bottom of that pot. Now I'm gonna pull the clay up. So everyone do this with me. Attach your two hands together. This is called butterfly. Now, how many of you know how to flip a coin? Like last year I had someone say that they didn't know how to flip a coin. It looks like this. Like to flip a coin, if you had a coin on your thumb and you kind of go like this. Okay, touch your two hands together. Flip a coin with your dominant hand. Okay, now you're gonna hold it in this firm position, and then with your non-dominant hand, make a C. But still keep your two hands attached to each other. Now, with your hands nice and wet, watch what I do. I'm gonna push this part of my finger underneath the bottom of my pot and then pull the clay up. It's gonna look like this. This is what it looks like. I'm squeezing the clay and I'm moving it up this way. That's all I did. Do you notice that? I didn't change that at all. I just, now, because I'm evil, I want you to make a 4-inch cylinder. No, that's not why. I want you to make a 4-inch cylinder because what happens is, once you get to a certain height, you need to change your hand position, which allows you to throw taller. If you can do a 4-inch cylinder, you could do like a tall vase or a tall anything, right? So this is a big reason why we're gonna work on this for a week and a half worth of classes. You're gonna make a little reservoir in the bottom like this. Hands are nice and wet. Slow down your wheel speed so you have more control because the walls are pretty thin now, right? Stick your hand underneath. And just like that, maybe get a little ripple. Okay. Then once you think you have a 4-inch cylinder, look at the bottom, make sure the bottom is flat. I'm really looking for that bottom to be flat on the inside. Turn off your wheel. Get a ruler. Oh, I want to show you something else too. With the height, and I did it without explaining, I can't have both of my elbows or both of my forearms on my splash pan. I had to move my hand this way so I could reach the bottom. And so my dominant arm is on my splash pan still, but it takes a little bit more practice and a little bit more stability and control to be able to go like this, if that makes sense. Okay. Then, if you're like, I think this might be 4 inches, let's see. Get a ruler. It's 5 inches. So then you're like, yeah. And then you call me over and then I double check it, right? Because this is your grade. Because you're graded for this, you're graded on the wheel head. Okay, when we make mugs, we're gonna take them off the wheel head and attach handles to them. But this is just like, it's like a practice that you get a grade for, right? So it's like a performance test, right? So you call me over, it's a 4-inch cylinder. I look and see if the bottom is flat. If the bottom is flat, then you have achieved it. And it doesn't matter how much clay that you use. So if you have really big hands, you can make sure you get like a little bit of a bigger piece. Sometimes that's easier to get the height because, you know, your hand has to fit on the inside. 4 inches, yay! And then you get a big slap high five from me, and then you rip it off, and guess what happens to this clay? It goes on the plaster. The plaster sucks the moisture out of the bottom of the clay, so whoever signed up to pug is gonna put it in the pug mill. So imagine this, someone is pugging, right? Every day, someone will be pugging, right? So during class, outside, like any time, somebody is pugging. So don't be concerned with how much clay you use, because that person for that 20 minutes is there for you. They're there to make sure that the clay just gets recycled. They'll put it in the pug mill, they'll mix it, right? You get a new piece, and you keep doing that until you get it. Then, when you get your 4-inch cylinder, you have a choice. You can either practice and make some really awesome mugs for the next assignment, or just get that practice down. Maybe the walls were real thick, or maybe, you know, and that's not something that's assessed for the 4-inch cylinder. As long as it's cylinder shape, you're gonna get a 100. It's 100 points for doing something that takes 5 minutes, because it doesn't really take 5 minutes, right? It really takes a week and a half. So keep that in mind when you're working. Like, don't get frustrated. Know that it's gonna take a week and a half. Next is cleanup. First thing you're gonna do for cleanup is don't wash your hands first. Wash your hands last. But you'll go over to the sink and you'll get a sponge. You'll squeeze out all the water. You'll get one of these sponges. I don't want you throwing with these sponges, but this is your cleanup sponge. If you need to and you're muddy, you can kind of like go like this, right? First thing you're gonna do is switch off your wheel. The light will go off when you switch off the wheel. Clean your wheel head. Another way you can do it is take your small sponge, spin, clean off your wheel head if there's a lot of mud. Go ahead and turn that off. Make sure your wheel is off, right? Because you can imagine if your wheel is on and you put your container of water on your splash pan, oh, it's gonna go flying and hit somebody and get them soaked, right? Not fun. Not fun. Next thing you're gonna do, and I have some water and some mud inside. This is called a splash pan, rightfully so. So you're gonna take your sponge, and all you need to do is go around your whole wheel like this 1 or 2 times, and then squeeze it out. And then make sure the outside is clean. Just go like this, squeeze it out. Check again, like, okay, good, yep, this is turned off. The little peg, you don't have to do anything to, just the light switch you switch off, and then you're all done.